All right, so now when it comes to your reflective essay planning, um, and also this is also known as a personal reflective essay, in case you guys are confused. It's the same thing, okay? So when it comes to the planning for this essay, the first thing that you want to do, so just make your heading reflective essay plan. So the first thing that you want to do when you approach planning is you want to make sure that you go into as much detail as you can. So remember, a reflective essay is all about reflecting, as the name suggests. It's all about thinking about something that's happened. It's all about telling a story and then trying to sort of draw out as many lessons, uh, as much sort of emotion, explaining how you feel, how you felt. It's about going into as much detail as you can. Um, that's what your reflective essay is basically. So what you want to do in your plan is you want to go into as much detail as you can. Now, obviously, you're not going to use all of that because you have a set word limit of roughly 1,000 plus or minus, 200 words, something like that. Um, but you want to have as much sort of content in there as you can, so then you can sort of pick from that, and it will make your essay writing way easier. Okay. All right. So the first thing that you're going to do is just make the subheading key events in the story. Now, what you're going to do, okay, is you are going to answer these questions. So once you've picked your idea, you know what you're going to talk about. Then what you're going to do is you're first of all going to say what happened. So you're going to tell the entire story of what happened. So what is the story? Just lay it out completely. Tell the story exactly what happened. You can do this in full sentences, you can do it in bullet points, but just basically whatever sort of form you do it in, just make sure you go into as much detail as you can. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is you want to talk about when did the story happen, and you want to be specific. You want to say uh, when I was 5, when I was 10. If you don't remember exactly, you can say when I was a child, when I was a younger teenager, and maybe even think about what was sort of going on in your life at that time. Anything else that was significant. Uh, for example, we moved house. Um, my sister just got married. Just anything you can think about from that time period that sticks out to you. Maybe even your favorite TV shows at that time. Anything that you can remember that's going to give the reader sort of a good picture of what that time period looked like. Think about in films when they do like a flashback or when they do like a moment from the past, and eh, they have certain music playing, old school kind of music. They have maybe certain things showing on different screens. Even the color is different. So think about how you can think about any kind of details that will help the reader to like go back to the moment you are describing. The next thing you want to do, okay, is you want to talk about who was involved. These are going to be the characters in your story. So you want to lay out the names, you want to lay out who they are, and you want to lay out what they're like, their personalities. Just imagine if you were writing about characters in a book or in a story. Think about the things you would describe, think about the things that you would um, talk about or analyze, and do that for your own story. Okay? Um, next thing, final thing is going to be where did it happen? So where does the story take place? Think about this as the setting of the story. So again, try and go into as much detail as you can. If you're talking about your school, think about what the school looked like. Think about where it was located. How long did it take you to get there? How did you get there? All of those types of things. Think about the setting, and again, go into as much detail as you can. Okay. Now, once you've done that, the next thing that you're going to do, all right, is you're now going to uh, make a list. Okay. Look at um, look at your first section. where you've said what happened. And now what I want you to do, okay, is I want you to make a list of each of the sort of main points in that story. It might be easy for you to do this in a sort of beginning, middle, end format. So look at the beginning, what's the main points there? Maybe two or three. Look at the middle, same thing, two or three main points. End, same thing, two or three main points. And then once you've got that little list, for each of those main points, okay, answer these questions. So go to the, just write again, whatever the first point is, write it again. And then ask yourself, what did you learn, okay, based on this? Or what have you learned? So think about what this point of the story is. Think about what you've learned based on it, what lessons you can draw from it. And you can just, again, list them out, yeah? You could put it in note form, bullet point form. Just think about what are the lessons that you learned now that you've gotten a bit older. What lessons have you taken away from this event? Then think about what did you think before the event? So, for example, if you're talking about first day in school, what was your, uh, what did you imagine high school to be like before you got there? What did you think about, what teachers were going to be like before you got there, and so on and so forth. And then think about how did the event change your mind or your way of thinking? So whatever you're describing, think about how has this changed the way you think about things, or how has it changed the way that you think about that subject? And then finally, uh, think about how did you feel, okay, at the time? How did you feel? I should have at the time. At the time, and then how do you feel? So how did you feel like going through that experience? How did you feel at that time? And again, describe it in as much detail as you can. How did you feel at the time when you were going through the experience? And then and you're talking about your emotions. And again, you want to lay them out, yeah, in detail if you can. Then finally, how do you feel about it now? How do you feel about this whole experience now? So you're thinking about lessons, okay? And you're thinking about emotions. That's the basic um, categories of reflection. Sort of the lessons that you've learned, how you've changed based on it, and the emotions. How did you feel then? How do you feel now? Okay. Now, yes. Should we talk about this right now? Should we talk about this? Okay, fine. We'll talk about this now. So, the next thing is going to be the structure. So once you've got all of those points together, now what we have is we're going to look at the structure of the essay. Actually, what I'll do is I'll put this in another lesson for you because I think it'll be a bit easier to refer back to. Okay, next lesson we're going to talk about essay structure.